everybody, back again with another review. Today's review is going to be over the DC Multiverse Mr.Freeze. So yes, there is another version of this character out there. Pretty much the same, just a different paint application. One that's more bland and pretty much just white for the most part. And I'm glad that this one came out when it did, because I was on the fence of getting the older one since I just started collecting in November and wanted a more comic looking Mr. Freeze. So I'm glad that this one came out, or in comics, more like animated version of Mr. Freeze. But I like the realistic aspect, so I'm really glad that they did this paint job to give it that more animated color scheme. So I'm very glad that I waited and this came out when it did, or else I'd probably be sitting here with the older one at this very moment. Now let's get into the actual box. 12 plus, just like every other box and every other figure that McFarlane makes. And then you get the 22 moving parts, which is the typical standard for McFarlane figures. And then on the side, you're going to get DC Multiverse Mr. Freeze, as you can see here. And then moving on, you're going to get this nice artwork. I think this is fantastic for Mr. Freeze. It's just pretty much his whole entire story in general, basically why he approached things the way he did, because as we all know, or for those that do know, that is his wife here on the back. And yes, there's a hair somehow attached to the back, which I'm guessing happened either in production, putting this sticky thing on the back right here, or who knows, maybe it's something from my room. But anyways, that was on the back. So yeah, I really like this artwork and it is fantastic. Don't think I could have thought of a better one myself. And then moving on to the last side here, you get DC Multiverse Mr. Freeze once again, and a QR code here at the bottom. And for those who may be searching in stores, here is the actual barcode. And yes, I do know that they're out there. I did see it at a GameStop before it technically arrived at my own house from my pre-order. So that is just nice that to see that they're actually out there. Although I only did see one so far, which may not be a good sign overall. But this figure is already a good one based on the paint scheme and the card artwork, because I do put that into consideration. But anyways, let's get into the actual figure. Starting out, the first thing you're going to get is the typical black McFarlane display stand. As you can see, pretty much just the same as every other figure for the most part, besides those that come with flight stands or the collector edition figures. So nothing different, same time and time again. Now moving on to the card, I'm pretty sure that I had something funky happen with my card. As you can see at the top, there's no white trim. Pretty sure it should not be like this, assuming when it came to the print production, there's too much white space here at the bottom, so I'm assuming it was lifted compared to normal, which kind of sucks. I actually like the cards and then them being even, so that is kind of unfortunate, but I will deal with it. Now moving on to the back, Mr. Freeze, real name Victor Fries or Freeze, however you want to say it. Corporation funding Victor's work shut down his experiments and in the process caused a horrible accident. The coolants did irreparable harm and made it impossible for him to survive above freezing temperatures. To kind of counteract this, Victor constructed a special ultra durable suit to keep his body alive and at the right temperature. He embraced his new persona and became Mr. Freeze. So just a little read up on him. And the one accessory that he does come with is this nice gun, as you can see, in a nice metallic silver color. Just a little like blue button or blue little knob right there, as you can see. And then you're gonna get this little freeze effect on the end that is transparent, kind of clear, but also looks like it has a very, and I mean very light blue coloring to it. And yes, I would be very careful because pretty sure you can't take this off, but it seems like it's very likely to potentially snap off or rip and tear over time because how it is. So that does suck. And I tried to take this out but you cannot. It's attached to this, so there is that. But I do like that they actually included his freeze gun. That is pretty much a necessary figure for, not figure, accessory for Mr. Freeze. So that is fantastic, and there's a lot of nice, cool detail on it. Now, the reason you all are here is for the figure, and the first thing that I shall say is that, yeah, next to the red version of Azrael Batman armor that just came out, let's just say this figure also had a lot of paint fumes to it. Like, once I took it out, I was wondering where the strange smell is coming from, and sure enough, it's coming from the figure. Yeah, I couldn't really describe it, but if I were to describe it, the smell kind of dang near smelled like Sharpie, if I were to be honest, and a very strong Sharpie at that. So that's kind of strange, but be careful when opening up, because if yours is the same, it is very, and I mean very strong. So there is that. But right off the bat, yes, you can take off the little dome piece here. As you can see, it is just clear, and then you can put it back on, which I'll need to take it off here soon anyways for articulation. So I guess actually I'll keep it off. But there's a lot of nice detail. It is the same body as the previous Mr. Freeze, but I just like all the detail going on. The nice metallic silver, which is probably why the fumes are very strong, is because it is a metallic color. So that explains it. A little different type of paint. But yeah, it is a nice and shiny. And then the belt, you got the black belt buckle there. Move down to the legs, just black. Nice little purple color going on here. A very beautiful purple color, if I ever say so myself. The blue is just kind of bland blue, nothing really shiny about it. But yeah, up here on the shoulder pads, it is a shiny blue. And then on the little freeze pack, you got the nice texturing going on, show some worn effect going on, but it is also a metallic blue compared to these, like the diaper and the joint areas, and then on top of the boots, like I just mentioned. So that is nice and fantastic. Then you got these nice hoses, kind of bendable as you can see, but I'm not going to try pushing it by any means. But I do like how sturdy they seem to be. Gloves, that nice shiny purple, once again. Same detail probably as the original figure. I wish I had the original figure to kind of compare, but I'm pretty sure it's the same besides, like I mentioned, the paint application. And moving on to the head as well. Nice detail. Love the red lenses. Probably, actually for him, it makes sense why it is not transparent. Wouldn't make any sense because pretty much in animation, stuff like that, and the artwork that they use on the card, it is not see-through. And yeah, pretty much is fantastic. Just that they, you know, probably could have been lazy, but they weren't, since it actually makes sense in this case compared to like the figure like Booster Gold, for example, where they did not make it transparent. But good for them that Mr. Freeze does not have transparent lenses, at least from most things I've seen. And then inside you get some of the silver showing as well, the blue going up, which is pretty nice and cool to see the differentiation going on and just kind of getting in there as well. But yeah, let's get into the actual articulation. So when it comes to the head, be able to get to go down a decent amount until it really hits the collar. But yeah, why would you want to do this? I don't know. It looks a little weird if you're to put it down that much. And yes, it's able to go up about this much, and then like I just did, down this much. And when it comes up and around, pretty good articulation when it comes to that. Actually, probably very good articulation, actually, to increase basically what I'm saying, is fantastic from those aspects. So yes, the head articulation is fantastic, but if you were to put on the dome per se, obviously you won't be able to move it because it's inside the dome, which I would think that's common sense, but just to show it off, I mean, might as well do it, right? And then when it comes to the actual arm, these are bendable plastic. Yes, they may get interrupted by the armor right here on the torso area, but just kind of push them back and then they'll rise above it. And yes, he does have great articulation when it comes to that on the arm. And when it comes to movement around, perfect, not too loose, just right. And then kind of the elbow joint going up a little bit, not much, you can't really see it, but it is partially there. And then when it comes to the actual bicep cut, don't think it yeah, actually it does have a bicep cut, but yeah, may not be able to realize it because it blends in flawlessly. Perfect job from that aspect. And when it comes to the actual elbow articulation, a little bit, but not as much as most figures because of the fact that the biceps have that little texturing on it, and then the, I guess, glove you can say, or a part of the armored glove is there as well, so it's not able to bend a bunch. But I don't think that's very necessary at all. I think it is good for what it is. And when it comes to the actual hands, be able to get the joint to go up about, I usually struggle to find the little area. Let me see if I can show it. Looks like it's right here. Okay, it doesn't seem like it really wants to. Seems to be a little struggle bus there because of potentially the paint being a little thicker, a little different, I guess, a little different from normal. But yes, it can go up a little bit as well, but doesn't seem to be a bunch. But there is that, and it can move around, but you can hear kind of some rubbing going on because of the paint. At least I believe it's the paint for this instance. And when it comes to the actual bicep crunch, there you go. Pretty good. And then when it comes to going forward, not really much, but it is good for what it is. And then you're going to be able to get the little hip swivel going on. That's fantastic for a figure like this. Then be able to just see if you can get the waist. Yes, you can move the waist as well. And now let me get it even, or else that will bother me. And when it comes to the splits, this is about as much as you're going to get, which is perfect by all means. Don't think you need much more than that. And when it comes to the knee articulation, you're going to be able to get it to bend back this much. Kind of the same thing as the arms up above, just because of the texture of the boots. It's not potentially going to be able to bend as much as normal. And when it comes lastly to the feet, be able to actually move the boot, so that's nice. I hope it's actually supposed to do that, but yes, you can actually rotate the boot. And then when it comes to the actual ankle, there you go, side to side. And then be able to get it to go back. So yeah, you're not going to be able to get it to go back because it's going to rub against the back part of the upper part of the boot. But going up, you should be able to get a little bit, but not too much because of, once again, the boot. So it is more limited compared to most figures in terms of that, but it kind of makes sense because Mr. Freeze has very, I guess, armored boots, as you could say. And it comes to toe articulation, less than normal as well, but you can say that's because of the added padding or armor on top of the boot. So yes, there's very kind of like limitation there on the actual boot itself and going on the foot, going up and down, but it is nice to see that the boot can actually rotate. Hopefully other figures weren't able to do this the whole time. I just realized that Mr. Freeze can do it. Maybe other figures can do it, but I just now realized that at least these boots can rotate. But there is that. Overall, I'd say articulation is pretty darn good for what it is, and it makes sense for the areas why they're kind of low articulation, such as the boots, like I just mentioned. Makes sense why that does not have as great articulation, but in the areas that they are able to do it, it is fantastic. Just the fact that they made it up in those areas. But that being said, let me get into my final thoughts of this figure. My thoughts on this Mr. Freeze figure. I am very, very glad that they came out And yes, it may be a reuse and pretty much the same exact figure, but I love the different paint applications. Really just brings back that animated feel from the childhood. It is amazing, and I'm glad that I waited. The articulation is pretty darn good. Yes, the legs and boot area may be a little limited, but the fact that the boots can twist kind of makes up for it. Hopefully, like I said, every other figure hopefully cannot be able to do that, because I just now realized it. So it would suck if every single other figure could do that, and I just realized it on Mr. Freeze. But other than that, I do like the inclusion of the accessory. It makes sense. Mr. Freeze does deserve a freeze gun, or else pretty much it would not make sense whatsoever, no matter what accessory he did come with. But yeah, I really like as well how you can take off the dome, put it back in. That is fantastic as well. The only bummer is, yeah, the fumes of potentially when you open up your copy are going to be very strong. So hopefully that does not happen for you. But I really just like the nice paint application all throughout. Just nice, shiny, some aspects that it's bland, actually more rubber-like as well for some contrast. But yeah, the nice goggles as well. The head sculpt is fantastic, just like the old model as well. Even though I do not have that one, it was fantastic on that one, just based on images alone. But this figure is fantastic. I think it is a must-have, especially to kind of bring back your childhood as a whole. So from me, I honestly have to give this figure a 10 out of 10. That may be some bias just because I've been wanting this figure and almost got the old one. But other than that, yeah, 10 out of 10 for me. And I hope you enjoyed this review. But until next time, happy collecting. Peace.